Through the grind of an 82-game regular season and 4 rounds of playoff hockey, there can only be one champion. As the New York Islanders continue their drive for 5, we encourage you to listen in as we discuss everything going on with your favorite team. From AllIslanders.com, this is the All Islanders Podcast.
And now it is Bailey. 4th power play of the game for the Islanders. Score! Islanders lead! Here's an open net for Prince. He scores! Siding room with a shot. Tipped in front. Rebound. Scores! Josh Bailey. But intercepted. Here's Tavares. Dancing through the front. He scores!
Hey guys, this is David. Welcome to episode 10 of the All Islanders podcast. This is our milestone episode. This is our 10th one. Hopefully this is 1/10 of the way to 100, but right now this is a smaller episode. We're going to do a short one. We're doing something new right now. We have our Instagram live stream up on All Islanders 2, which is our Instagram of our website, allislanders.com, as you guys know. And what we're doing is we're going to take some questions from the loyal fans who are actually up at 11:30 on a Friday night watching this. But what's going to happen is we're going to take some questions after we talk about a few things. And that's how today's going to go. It's a brand new thing. I've never seen a podcast do this with utilizing Instagram like we are, so hopefully it works. So for our first topic, on our website, we introduced a new category called case studies. And a case study is basically, I learned this in school, it's when you analyze a debate, basically, that has two very equal sides. So we did the Matt Martin case study where I said Matt Martin was the reason why the Islanders missed the playoffs. Aiden said Matt Martin was the reason why the Islanders, he was the reason why, he was not a reason why the Islanders missed the playoffs. And we're going to talk about John Tavares now. Did John Tavares have a good year by his standards? Jared, I'm coming to you.
The answer to that, in my opinion, is no. Tavares had, in my opinion, one of his worst years for the team. Compared to his playing in the last 2 years, he went from being one of the top players in the league, where he was actually going to win the Art Ross, and didn't, because I think it was Jamie Benn, was the Benner Sagan, got 4 points in one game to outbeat him. And then he goes from that to having the season he did this year. Even though he got hurt at the end, he had a terrible year. And to his standards, I think it's just a bad year for him. And I'm hoping to see better out of him next year, and that's about it.
Yeah, so the way I look at it as, John Tavares was in the mid-60s for points this year, which he was injured. And you cannot look at the statistic. The statistic everyone wants to use is the Islanders were 6-0 without John Tavares this year. And if you want to use that statistic, you're basically saying, I don't want John Tavares on the team. So that's a stupid statistic. We're not going to mention that. But when we're talking about John Tavares, and that's going to be our theme of this episode, we're going to talk about John Tavares. What I want to say is he had a bad year by his standards. He started in the offensive zone 70% of his shifts, and he had a career low number of points, game-winning goals, and goals for any years besides his rookie year, and besides the year where he actually tore his ACL, I believe, or MCL. He had that bad knee injury the year of the Olympics. So those were his 2 worst years. And you think about it. You think, how come John Tavares had a bad year? He had his first stable line in however many years he's been on the team. You had PA, you had Molson, you had Tavares. And this year he had a similar line where Lee kind of took the Molson role and Bailey took the PA role. So I'm really happy with how he played, but he just wasn't good this year. Compared to his standards, he would say he didn't have a great year. He got a B+ on our report card. So Harris, I'm going to come to you. How do you feel about John Tavares this year? He was still our most important player, obviously, but do you feel he could have done better?
Yeah, definitely. John Tavares will always be the most important player to this team, guys, no matter if Anders Lee is leading the team in goals or if Josh Bailey ends up leading the team in assists. At the end of the day, he is your captain, and he is your best player, no matter what. And let's face it, and you brought it up, David, he did not have a stable line until like mid-season. He had Andrew Ladd and Jason Tavera to start the season. They did what? They did nothing. Then they put him with Josh Bailey. That was good, but then they still had Ladd there for another 6 games. And this continued until about December when Anders Lee finally popped on that line because it went from Ladd, Chimera, Bailey, Brock Nelson, and even Cal Clutterbuck at one point was on John Tavares. And, you know, the guys around him have to produce. And towards the middle and towards the end of the season, he was that player that we saw 2 years ago that could have won the MVP. And by his standards, you know what? And his role expanded this year with killing penalties and everything. But offensively, he's just got to do more. He's got to lead by example. He's the kind of captain that leads by example. He's not a vocal guy in the locker room. I think it was just an off year by his offensive point.
Yeah, so there's no reason why you'd think we're trashing John Tavares in this segment. We're not. We love John Tavares. He's our captain. He's our most important player. Main summary is he didn't have his best year. He wouldn't be happy with it. His points weren't as good as he'd like. So I'd like to move on to what we have not talked about on this podcast yet. Very interestingly, John Tavares is obviously a free agent next offseason. It's kind of looming over the Islanders' head, and we've kind of been delaying this because we wanted to focus on it for maybe an episode or something. But I just want to briefly touch on it now while we're talking about Tavares. Jared, I'm going to come to you. On a scale of 1 to 100, how comfortable should the Islanders be that John Tavares is going to re-sign, with 100 being he's definitely going to and 1 being he's leaving?
If I have to give my overall on the chance that he resigns, I'm going between 60 and 70. I don't see it being over 75 or 60, 75. I just don't see it being over 75 because there's a chance he leaves because of what happened this year.
Yeah, so sorry for the lag there. For those of you listening on the live stream, what Jared basically said is 65 to 70% chance he re-signs. I know you couldn't really hear it on this end, but basically what he's saying is Tavares, he had an okay year, but he said it so many times he wants to stay in Brooklyn, and I'm going to build off of that. A great writer, I forget his name, wrote an amazing article about he logged the amount of times that John Tavares has said he wants to stay an Islander, and it was this article. It must have been 30 pages long, and what he said that John Tavares just constantly, nonstop, repeatedly said he wants to be an Islander, and he said this so many times. And Jared, how do you feel about that, building off your point?
It makes you feel comfortable that he says that, but at the same time, it's scary because there's always that chance, and he's our best player, and losing him would put us in a really bad place. Now, there's something I want to point out. I have the live stream on my phone. Someone just asked, do you think his bad production was due to that mysterious hand injury? If you listen to this right now, I'll give you credit if you comment again if it was you, but whoever it was truly, that was a surprising thing to see. I think it made a minimal difference, if anything, but it likely could have been due to that. An injury is an injury, and it'll stop you. But with Tavares resigning, I know he said it multiple times, but I have this gut feeling that something bad could happen because it's Garth Snow and the Islanders.
Yeah, you look at the Islanders' narrative and you just think about all the things that have gone bad in the last couple of years, and it's scary. It really is scary. If the Islanders botch this John Tavares re-signing, which I'm telling you, that's a big if, it would take, for them to botch this, that would be catastrophic for the franchise. But it's May 19th right now. We've got, 31 plus 11. We've got 42 days right now until the John Tavares is eligible to re-sign. Right now, I hope John Tavares is thinking about his future. I hope he's saying, I want to be an Islander. He said it to the public, but there's a difference between saying it to the press, saying it to Arthur Staple, saying it to Andy Graziano, and saying it to his family. there is a rumor that we have heard, this has been a rumor going around the island, that John Tavares has been seen, there's pictures online of him with real estate agents looking at houses in the New Jersey, Brooklyn, Long Island area. That could be a rumor, that could be photoshopped, who knows. All I'm saying is John Tavares, he needs to be thinking about his future, and Garth Snow needs to be doing everything he can to persuade John Tavares in these early stages. He needs to be an Islander for the rest of his career. We need to write him that blank check. We need to give him whatever he wants. And hopefully John Tavares is persuaded to stay where he's called home his whole career. And we just want to talk about this on the podcast a little bit because it's the early stages. Just talked about John Tavares for about 10 minutes, but I can tell you, John Tavares is going to be the storyline for the next 2 months. And if it comes along, Harris, I want to talk to you about this because you haven't talked in a while. And we've talked about this together. If it's June, if it's July 3rd, if it's July 4th, if it's after the July 4th holiday and John Tavares isn't re-signed, what happens? Because that's a scary thought.
David and Jared, there are two sides to the story. There's one side where John Tavares is the savior of your franchise, and you are just going to give him everything that you want. That is what Garth Snow should do. Now, what we all think Garth Snow should do hasn't happened in the last 2 years. So, based on your number system that you were going by, there is a side of the story that is a 0 and a side of the story that is 100. The 0 happens when John Tavares doesn't sign on July 1st, and that first, I'm going to give it 2 weeks in July. And if he is not signed, if I'm John Ledecky and Scott Malkin, I'm going to fire Garth Snow. You need to be active. There are not many free agents that the Islanders have this offseason to try and re-sign. John Tavares is now your number one priority this offseason. It can't be next offseason with the risk of him leaving. Because what happens is, if you're going to have John Tavares for next year and he's going to play out the full season, you're just going to let him walk and not get anything for him. So if you don't, I'm going to give this date right here. If you don't sign him by Christmas of this year, I'm going to look to trade him.
All right.
If I'm Garth Snow.
That was beautiful. I hope people from the stream heard that. That was an amazing comment because I completely agree with you. I really do think that the Islanders, I'll even go, I don't want to trade John Tavares. I'd honestly, if there's a small chance we could re-sign him, this is stupid. I've never said this about anything before. When it comes to this, I'm always believing in, being proactive. But if there's a small chance we could re-sign John Tavares, you're keeping that chance and you're re-signing him. No matter what the cost is. You're giving him however much money he wants. But I love this, what you said. If he is not re-signed by that July 4th holiday, you are firing Garth Snow. And you are getting someone in there who can do this and who can basically rewrite the future of the Islanders and make it so that the Islanders go from being a team that's always had the bad luck, always got the rough end of the stick, to getting their captain forever. And I hope Garth Snow, he's prioritizing this obviously, but I hope he doesn't botch this. And I hope you don't want to be passive, you want to be active, as you said. And I really do hope, I'm just basically summarizing what you said, Garth Snow needs to get his head together. So Garth Snow is going to be the one who needs to really push this. He's the GM. And what I want to see out of Garth Snow is, I want to see Garth Snow, he got his, this sounds stupid, but he needed to re-sign Dennis Seidenberg. He needs to re-sign Calvin DeHaan, but besides that, he's basically done with his own players this offseason. Then you look at other free agents. I don't really see any free agents the Islanders are going to go after, besides depth players. The only thing I can see the Islanders doing is making trades, and that could be done later in this offseason. John Tavares needs to be your number one priority. So now we want to talk about the New York Rangers. We have a question, it looks like, kind of relating to the Rangers, but I just want to talk about on our Instagram account, Islanders2. There's been a little bit of an outrage over a recent post. Rangers fan, Islanders fans, this huge rivalry. I'm a firm believer that the Rangers are the Islanders' biggest rival, and I think that the Islanders are the Rangers' biggest rival, although they would disagree. They think Penguins, they think Caps, whatever. I don't think they're educated in the history, but I think Isles Rangers, best rivalry, New York, New York, and it really shows itself in Instagram. It really shows itself all across the sports world. But Gary Bettman, an Islanders fan as a child, decided to give the Sabres the Winter Classic. The Sabres and Rangers got the Winter Classic at Citi Field, which is like 20 minutes away from where the Islanders' new home could possibly be. And that's not a good matchup. The Sabres probably won't be good next year. And it's kind of disrespectful to the Islanders. It's a big topic of discussion, so we want to talk about that now. Jared, how big of a stab in the back is this to Islander fans?
I know I've talked a lot about it with fellow writers and stuff, but there comes a point where you need to stop thinking about what's going to be better for. You need to think about. I'm trying to think about how to phrase this. I'll just change it and say you need to think about what's happened. There's been 10 Winter Classics, I think. Not sure. But every one of them is the same teams over and over and over. And the one time where they have a game in Islanders territory, they don't put the Islanders there. I mean, it truly is a stab in the back. I mean, when the speculations came out, I was like, oh, they would never do that. Then they announced it, and I was really mad. I was just talking to my friends, and they were like, I just don't get why anyone would do that. I mean, you're playing in Islander territory in a game that won't attract any Sabres fans because they all live in upstate New York. Not to mention that the rivalry of New York faces off on January 1st between the Islanders and the Rangers would get more publicity and be more known if that was the game than if it were Rangers-Sabres. I'm sorry, but it's just pathetic at the end that would do that.
Yeah, I completely agree there. And I just want to add that if you're thinking about this from a marketing standpoint, the Sabres have Jack Eichel. I don't know who else they have. They have Ristolainen. I mean, you're not selling Sabres Winter Classic jerseys off the wall. Yeah, you got the Rangers, but I don't get why they wouldn't do Islanders Rangers. That would be such a great the fanfare that would be going on. It would be terrific, and I can't believe that Gary Bettman, who was an Islander fan, he has been an Islander fan in his life, and I know he can't have any bias here, but he knows what that rivalry's like. And if you did Sabres Red Wings, that's a better rivalry than Sabres Rangers. I don't really get the point. I don't really see the thought process there. And Harris, I don't know if you want to comment, but after you do, we're going to take a question from Thomas.
Yeah, and I was talking about this on my radio show earlier this week, and you know what? It's really time for the National Hockey League to stop looking at the New York Islanders as a complete afterthought. Everything that comes in the outdoor games is always over the Islanders. You want to play a Stadium Series game at Yankee Stadium, Rangers versus Islanders? No, you got to put the Devils in there too. I think this is a huge blow to the team and the fans, especially the fans. I don't know about you guys, but living on Long Island, I'm at Citi Field every week. I'm watching a Met game. It's Islanders territory. It's 25 minutes away from where we all live. And the fact that you are going to bring a team that, let's just face it, guys, is not even that high in publicity, is not even that good to play the Rangers. There's no rivalry in this. It's a big blow to the fans and the team. I can see that if the Rangers wanted to play the Devils in a game at Citi Field on January 1st, you know what? It's a rivalry. You could be able to accept it. But the fact that it's not Rangers and Islanders in a team, in a building where the team who actually plays there wears orange and blue is just insane to me. It's a big blow to the base and the team.
Yeah, crazy blow. But we have been talking about the live stream that we have going on. I want to take a question. Islanders Edits just commented, I guess Bettman doesn't really know about rivalries. I agree. The Winter Classic, though, has done a good job in the past of being rivalries. But I don't really get this one. I'm sure Sabres fans are thinking, great, we haven't been included in the Winter Classic, so
Yeah, they have.
they have? Okay, so they're thinking we're getting one more, whatever. They haven't been really, they're not the most respected fan base. They don't, they've been bad for a while. I'm sure they're happy, but Islanders Rangers would have been better. So and it may be their first ever. A lot of people are commenting that you may have been wrong, Jared, so we'll have to research
They
that.
played the Penguins in the first ever Winter Classic.
You sure? Okay, so I guess we have some people who are
I mean,
commenting
correct
wrong.
me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was them.
I have no clue, but you may be right. So Thomas, don't know if someone asked this already, but what do you think of the new assistant coach? The assistant coach, Luke Richardson, right? Yeah, so he is the new assistant coach. It has not been announced what he will do yet, but I think he's doing power play. I think he's replacing Doug Weight. A coach was let go, and here's what I have to say about the new coach. He's had a very interesting past. His daughter died, I think, in 2010, and he was supposed to be. I'm trying to give you an example. Maybe you guys remember the Flyers? Not Dave, the coach of the Flyers right now, but he was in the AHL forever, and it was just always expected that he'd be the next coach. When they fired their coach in 2011, 2012, it was just thought Richardson's going to get the job. But what happened was he got passed up, and with everything that happened with his daughter, with his personal life, he had a rocky time in Ottawa, and he did amazing with the Birmingham Senators, but he just quit after time, and the Islanders scooped him up. Doug Weight and him were teammates, and they seem to be friends. Doug Weight likes his friends, and I'm not really sure of his record as a specialized coach. I know he was doing that in Ottawa for a while, but I think he can be something the Islanders can utilize. Doug Weight, it's funny, he's our new coach, but he was terrible with the power play, so hopefully something can go better there. But I'm really hoping that this guy, we need some new blood in the locker room. We heard that last year where we didn't re-sign Poso, Martin, and Nielsen, but I think new blood in the coaching staff is what we need, not the players last year. I like how Doug Weight's bringing in his own group. I like Matt Bertani. He's staying. He's one of my he's all the writers on Islanders.com love him. We've a couple of us have talked to him before, including Kyle. I'm not sure if you're listening, Kyle, but you've talked to him. You've interviewed him before for our website. We like Bertani. He was kind of our underdog pick for coach if Weight didn't get it, but Bertani has a future in coaching. So I think, guys, thank you so much for doing the live stream. I think we're going to end it now. So I just wanted to end that and thank you guys. This was our first ever live stream and podcast at the same time. So I just want to end the podcast, the live stream, because Instagram has a feature where if you go above an hour, it automatically shuts you off, and we're approaching that hour. So I'm going to shut that off so we avoid getting cut off. But thank you guys so much for joining, and we appreciate that you guys stayed with us the whole time. All right, so Jared and Harris, I'm not sure if you guys have any other topics you want to talk about. Linus Soderstrom just signed his entry-level deal. He's going to be staying in overseas for a year. He was amazing in Sweden. He broke Henrik Lundqvist's records. And he's really he's the Islanders' future, along with Sorokin. So I think that's all we have for you as it pertains to the goalies. But with that, I think we're good for tonight. It's getting really late. But I just want to thank you guys so much for listening. This was our 10th episode. We've been doing great with the podcast so far. Hopefully we have 10 more. We're going to keep this going through the off season with some more special guests coming on. In the works we have with our site, we have huge news that is going to be being announced in June. So you guys got to stay tuned for that. Trust me, it's pretty big. And stay tuned to podcast Instagrams. We have more big news coming with regards to memorabilia and stuff. So I'm telling you, it's going to be, for our site, it's going to be a big couple weeks. For Tavares, it's going to be a big couple weeks. For Garth Snow, it's going to be a big couple weeks. So overall, it may feel like it's been boring in Islanders land the last month or so, but it's going to get better. Keep your heads up. Next season's almost here. And thank you guys for listening, and we will see you later.